Welcome to the Contractors Secret Weapon Radio Podcast, the show dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, and others in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over their competition. Get ready for some inspiration, some encouragement, some proven business building strategies, and a couple of new ideas that can take your business to the next level and beyond. And now, broadcasting from the Contractors Secret Weapon Studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dave Negri.
Hey, this is Dave Negri with Contractors Secret Weapon.
And this is Pete Mitchell with Contractors Secret Weapon.
Someday we'll get this all straight together.
It's good enough. It's close.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about, well, for lack of a better term, we're going to talk about lead generation, but generating the right kind of leads. It's kind of funny because right before we started recording this, you and I were talking about this, and you're like, we should be recording this. And I'm like thinking to myself, yeah, you're right. We need to stop talking and just start recording, because that's when the good stuff comes out. Because part of my thinking on this, Dave, was I really want to talk about proper follow-up, but then I was like, I can't really talk about proper follow-up because we haven't talked about generating the lead first, so we could do the proper follow-up. So we need to talk about generating the lead. And first of all, not all leads are created equal. Like, that's really important for people to understand. Where leads come from, what steps and hoops they have to go through to get to you, changes the quality of that lead and will get you either better leads or worse leads, depending on all of those steps that you have in there. And so I was thinking about this, and a lot of the businesses that I work with, we use what are called consumer guides. And essentially, when we're doing these consumer guides, they are meant to educate our ideal prospect, but at the same time, they're absolutely marketing, and we're getting them into our web of connection. We're sucking them into our world. And what kind of made me think about this is a mutual friend of ours, or at least a friend of mine and a guy who I know you know a lot about. He is going through a house remodel. And this is like, I don't know, year 2 of this remodel. I mean, I still don't understand everything that's going on. But the original remodeler, I mean, ended up ripping them off to the tune of, I don't know, probably close to $100,000. Didn't fulfill the contract, did that to several people. I think drugs were involved, and went to bankruptcy to get rid of, all the creditors. In fact, the guy was so underhanded that the prosecutor for his county went to his bankruptcy trial to hear everything that he had to say. And his judge or his attorney was like, you need to shut up. you need, like, I know who that is over there in the corner. You need to shut up, because I don't know if they ever did file charges against him to go after him, because what he did was criminal. It wasn't just civil. I mean, it was criminal what this guy did. And the problem is, Dave, those of us who are on the outside of the contractor's world, which I'm on the outside, right? I'm not a contractor like you. I've not done that stuff. I'm a marketing guy. The experience that most people on the outside have is not a positive experience with contractors. And there is this immediate distrust, this immediate, how's this guy going to take advantage of me? Is this guy legit? Do I trust this guy? And the stories, the horror stories, and I know you know them, and I know our listeners know them because they hear them too. Now, I'm going to assume if you're listening to this podcast, you're not one of those guys. You're not one of the horror stories, because you wouldn't be trying to up your game if you're all about just taking people's money and run it. But that's the problem that people have out there. So how do you overcome that distrust? How do you overcome all of those emotions and those stories and everything that someone's got in the back of their head when it comes to hiring a roofer or a painter or someone to do their remodeling or even an architect? Or how do you overcome all of that stuff? And there's a couple of different ways, several different ways. But one of the things that you and I are both big believers in, and that is in having a educational consumer guide. It is absolutely marketing material. We're selling ourselves all the way in this thing. But at the same time, we're providing education and we're showing them and telling them things that other people aren't telling them. So I kind of want to talk about that subject because, and then how we go about doing lead generation to that. But I want to kind of pull you in at this point, Dave, and ask you, you've done lots of different consumer guides. Obviously, we've got consumer guides on the Contractor Secret Weapon website, which, by the way, guys, is changing. We're improving it. Maybe by the time you listen to this, we'll be done. Hopefully we will be. It's always work when you do that stuff. But tell us about some of the consumer guides that you've done on your contracting side of your business.
Well, I've always, first of all, I know that I'm more expensive going in. And so I want the consumer to know what they're getting ahead of time. I want them to look beyond the price. And I think with the consumer guides that they do that because number one, it lets them know that you're a professional. It gives them the information that probably no one else is going to give them. And like one of my consumer guides is 10 questions you need to ask every painter before you even let them on your property. And it goes into the licensing, the proper insurance, not just insurance, but the proper insurance. Whether you have workman's comp and liability and what to expect, and don't take their certificates or call the insurance company for their certificates so that you know that they are a legitimate business. Where to have, I have to be licensed, so I give them a copy of my license in that. So are they licensed? And everyone knows that they're paying for what they're getting, but when I'm done, even if they don't pick me, they have a good something to compare to. It raises the standard.
Right.
Basically is what it does.
It makes you look different than all of your competition because they're looking at you and they're like,
right.
Look at the professionalism of this guy who's telling me here's everything you need to have. And by the way, when you tell someone these are the 10 things you need to ask a painter before you let them on your property, people assume that you're already doing those things, so then they don't actually ask you for those things, right? They might ask other people.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
But so a lot of times people are like, well, no one ever asked me. It doesn't matter. It's because you told them this is what you need to ask. They're going to assume you're on the right side of that. You've got the appropriate insurance and all that.
Most homeowners, believe it or not, are afraid to ask questions, but they really don't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And like your friends lost around $100,000. Well, I've seen similar things like that too. But if you arm the consumer with proper questions, maybe that won't happen to him if they don't choose you.
Right.
See, by having a consumer guide, it does two things for me as a contractor. It gives me the credibility in the marketplace, and it gives me the opportunity to help educate the consumer so they don't get ripped off if they don't choose me. I know that I'm not going to get a high percentage of the, cold contacts. I'll always get a higher percentage of referrals, and I even give those to the referrals too, so that they know.
Yeah.
So it's in one of, here's, most contractors are lazy. And it's not just contractors, it's just people in general. They want the low hanging fruit.
Sure.
And sometimes the low hanging fruit doesn't pay that well. So you have to go for the higher hanging fruit. But if you're more professional in everything that you do, then a lot of times I've had people say, you were like 30% higher, but I knew that you were professional and I saw your reviews and blah, da, 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 and all this other stuff. And so that's why we chose you, because we knew we were going to get value for all the money we were spending. So they weren't looking at price.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. The positioning that it gives you, like you've just basically been mentioning, especially when you're a higher priced contractor, and you're not going to be the cheap guy. You don't want to be the cheap guy. You're not looking to fight against the cheap guy. You're the expensive guy. It helps when you have these educational pieces that differentiate you from everyone else. And a lot of times when I tell people, this is what you need, and I'll even tell you guys on this podcast, here's how you can put together your own consumer guide. And the reality is most people won't actually take the time to do it, but you can be that person who chooses to do it. So you can take our advice and do it and reap the rewards of this. But other ways that it can be delivered, like it doesn't just have to be a physical, PDF. I remember when you and I first started working together, I don't even remember how long ago that was, like 5-6 years ago.
At least, yeah, maybe longer than that. 6
Yeah,
or 7,
yeah, something like that. I remember we put together a consumer guide, and I'd have to go on my files and actually look at what the title was, but it was probably like, what everyone needs to know before they hire a contractor or something like that. Roofer, I can't even remember at this point.
Yeah, we were doing a roofing thing back then.
Yeah.
And we stopped, but we did have, and that's still up on my website, is the call-in. You can call in and get, that's still on the website for painting. You call in 3 things you need to know before you hire a painter. I forget what it actually is. And they go through the script, and if they want to, get in touch with me right then and there, they just hit 2, and it sends them right to my phone. So
and see, that you actually just hit on the thing that I wanted to bring up, and that is, it doesn't have to be like something that's emailed to them or something that's mailed to them. Your educational consumer guide could be a free recorded message that you record, like you just talked about, the 3 things you need to know before you hire a painter, the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when hiring a contractor and how to avoid them. The 7, the 10, the 11, the 3, right? Doesn't matter what the number is. What matters is that
if it's 5 minutes, believe me, they will listen to it. I think we tried to keep it within 3, but I remember listening to Joe Polish saying that his guys were doing a 10 minutes,
and people were calling in twice to listen to it. Twice,
and they were calling in, twice to listen to it. So the length of it doesn't matter. It's the content. So
exactly.
Personally, I just tried to, we tried to keep it within 3 minutes or so, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatsoever.
Right. And that's kind of the easy thing. So what I would actually recommend, here's how I tell my clients, if they've got to put together their own consumer guide, like they're not hiring me to put together their consumer guide because it would cost them a lot of money to hire me to do it. Because to me, I just look at that as work. To them, it's like they live it. To me, I'm like, great, you got to pay me if you want me to do that. But here's what I tell them. I go, first of all, I want you to make a list of what are the 10 most frequently asked questions that you get about your product or service. So if it's about painting, and you know what they are because people are asking you all the time. And then I want you to write down, then I want you to write down what are all the questions they should be asking. And they should be asking it, but people just don't know enough about your business to know to ask that. Like, that's kind of what you did with your 10 questions. You've got a mix of frequently asked questions and should ask questions. You know, people don't know to ask for the insurance company's information so they can call and verify that it's a legitimate in-force insurance contract. Like, they don't know these things. So those are what I call the should ask questions. So you get your list of these questions. And what I recommend is that you get a buddy, can be an employee, could be a spouse, could be a friend, doesn't matter. And you get on a teleconference line. Like, you go to freeconferencecall.com and they call in on their phone, you call in on yours, and those conference services will record the call if you set it up right. They'll record it. And you give them your list of questions and you say, I want you to interview me on these questions. And if I say something that doesn't make sense to you and you want me to pause and really explain that, I give you permission to stop me dead in my tracks and ask me to explain what I just said. Because here's the problem. We have things that are second nature to us. This is our first language, right? Dave, your first language is pressure washing, it's painting, it's roofing, it's all of those things. Yeah. As a consumer, that's not my first language. Those things, I mean, I have no idea what they mean. Like, I remember the first time I was buying a house and my realtor tells me I need earnest money. I'm like, who's Ernest and why am I giving him money? Like, I didn't understand. I'm not just making an offer. I gotta actually put up some money and show you that you're gonna hold an escrow and it proves that I'm serious. And like, I didn't understand that at all. I thought it was some dude named Ernest and somehow he wrangles in on the deal. And because it wasn't my first language. So you want to give your that's why I always say it's best to have someone outside the industry interview you. Because you'll say stuff that they're like, I have no idea what that.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I know.
And, and take as much time as you need, go through those questions, let them interview you. You're recording the whole thing. When you're done, you get that transcript or that recording transcribed. Now, once you've got it transcribed, you're going to have to clean it up because the way we talk isn't the way we read. So you're going to have to go through there and, take out your ums and your ahs. And I say so a lot. And basically, those are my two words because every time I get a transcription done, I'm like, good night, man. What is there, 10,000 so's in there? And
yeah, I listened to the podcast today and I'm going,
right. We have our things that we do. So boom, now you got your content done. And here's the key though. When you're putting together, if this is going to be a print report, you're going to put a letter with it. And the letter is going to go on the very first. So you might have your report cover, then you have your letter. And by the way, all I do for my report covers is picture on top, title in the middle, and then at the bottom, it's either going to say by Pete Mitchell or an educational resource by Pete Mitchell. And that's simply it. I mean, in fact, my graphic designer, he knows that's what I want done. He doesn't have permission to go out there and make anything look fancy. I want it done that way. Boom. We're done. Simple. It's very simple.
And if you put Pete Mitchell's name on there, you better send him at least $100.
Right. Yeah. Don't put my name on your report. So then you're going to have a letter that goes with it. And I got this letter actually from Joe Polish. So I'm going to read it to you guys. And just to give you kind of an idea here. So you're going to have your picture on the top left. You're going to have a headline next to this letter on the right next to your picture. Just a quick letter to introduce myself and explain why I've put together this free report to help homeowners just like you get all the information you need for free. Dear homeowner, choosing a contractor can be really confusing. Why? Because you're bombarded with misleading information, confusing claims, and bad advice from family and friends that aren't accountable or responsible for you for the advice they give. How do you ever find solid, practical information that will help you choose a contractor? You start by reading this free report. I'm making this report available to you to help you avoid some of the biggest pitfalls I see homeowners make every day. In this fact-filled report, you'll discover the amazing secrets I've used to put I got to change this for, I'm reading actually a not contractor version. I'm trying to quickly on the fly convert it to contractors. In this fact-filled report, you'll discover the amazing secrets that have helped homeowners choose the right contractor every time. What I'm going to share has been tested by me, my clients, and this simple yet profoundly powerful guide is a compilation of ideas I've discovered over my career helping people just like you. Now, with this information, you can find your perfect contractor. And if you have any questions about the information in this report, send me an email at this email address or call me at this phone number. I've dedicated my business to helping people just like you. I'm happy to help in every way. Warmly, Pete Mitchell. And then I usually have a PS underneath that. If you're feeling overwhelmed with the process of choosing a contractor and you'd like a personalized plan to help you get from point A to point B, I invite you to have a consultation with me by calling this phone number. Reach out to me today. And the reason why we have this letter there, we're not a nation of readers. So even though you've spent all this time, you've put together this fantastic consumer guide, we've got it available to people, most people won't get past that letter. And that's why I need to have a couple of calls to action in there, ways for people to just go, you know what, I'm just going to call this guy. He's got a report. No one else has a report. I'm going to reach out to this guy. And you can do that now that with that letter right there. Then right after that is where you're going to put your transcript that you've cleaned up from your interview that you did, where you got interviewed. Then the last thing is you're going to have, it's either going to be 3 steps to choosing a contractor or 4 steps to choosing a contractor. It's going to be the last page of your report. And it's going to be simple as this. Step 1, make a commitment to act. Funny as this may sound, I can't tell you how many times people have requested this report and then said to me, if I would have known what to ask a contractor before I hired them to help me with my project, I would have avoided so many problems. I've shared just a few of ideas in this report, ideas that have acted upon could prove to be worth thousands of dollars when having your home worked on. But these ideas are only as good as when they are put into action. Decide to act right now. So that's step 1. Step 2, list your objectives. Jot down what your goals are in hiring your contractor and having the work done on your home. What's your ultimate goal? What are the things that you want to have happen? What are the things that you don't want to have happen? What do you expect from your contractor? How often do you want them to communicate with you? If they say they're going to be there at a certain time, what's your expectation? Are they going to show up, or do you have some flexibility? You want to list these objectives that you have. Step 3, contact a contractor that works with homeowners just like you. And then, of course, I say under that one, of course, I'd love to be the contractor you choose to work with, but let's face it, I'm not right for everyone. That's why I've provided this information that you can find the right contractor that is right for you. If you'd like additional information, please reach out to me at this phone number or email me at this email address. Step 4, act. Do I need to say anything more? Reach out to me and let's talk about how to make your dreams come true with your home. Let's work together. So really what we're doing is we're bookending this information. If they actually happen to read it, then I got to make sure there's a call to action at the end. And that's our 4 steps to choosing a contractor. And we're going to have that at the very end of the report. Now you've got a physical report. You've got someone who's looking at you and they're talking to 2 or 3 other contractors. Who are they going to hire? They're going to hire you. They're going to be like, well, yeah, but this guy, I mean, look at all this. He must know what he's doing. And you're giving them that confidence. You can deliver it via free recorded message. So many different ways that you can use it. You, Dave, one of the things that I always thought was unique about you is you used to have a wrap on the back window of your truck. And it was basically just a headline, like for all intents and purposes, I can't even remember what they were, but it would be like,
the one we did.
Yeah, we did a couple of them. I remember that.
Oh, last one was never clean your roof again. Call 1-800. The other one
free recorded message. Like we got to tell them it's a free recorded message.
Yeah, this is a free recorded message. The other one was it was really funny because I used to get a lot of calls on it. Oh, before having your pavers sealed by anybody, you need to call this number.
Yeah.
And I had one guy call one day, and he was so irate. I said, what are you mad at? He goes, contractors don't do this stuff. And I go, well, you're a contractor. That's the only reason you're irate, and you do this stuff. And he hung up on me.
Oh, like he was hanging up because he was doing the things that you said not to do?
Yeah, these are things to watch out for, to make sure that these things happen. And this guy was doing all those things that you weren't supposed to have happen. It was kind of funny. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But here's that, and we were talking about this earlier, is that, okay, this is just one avenue of marketing. And you may get a lot of calls from this, and you may not, depends on where and you put ads. If you do EDM marketing or you do Facebook ads, you will get more than if you just put them on the truck like I do. So everything, but the leads, the people that call you, this is important. The people that call you are solid leads.
Right.
They're really not tire kickers.
Right. Completely different person. And it's usually the person who you want to deal with. What's funny is I did this very same thing for my detailers that I work with. I work with auto detailers. And we actually put together a three things to look for it on auto. I can't even remember what we called it. It's on our detailer training website. And I tell them, I go, here, you guys need to record this, set this up as your free recorded message, and put this up on your Yelp page. Like, don't list your regular phone number, list this number. And so at the very beginning, like the service that all my guys use, and you contractors are welcome to use this as well. It's actually my personal service that I've created. It's called smsconversations.com. It stands for Short Message System, which is texting, but it also does free recorded message, slide voicemails, ringless voicemails, all that type of stuff. But I would have them.
Free recorded messages?
I'm sorry? My system. Yeah. Oh, it does everything. Are you kidding me? That thing, I keep growing it. I keep dumping more and more money into that thing. And I haven't even, other than like
texting, because
yeah.
And slide out. It does slide out.
Yeah, promoting it on stuff like this. I mean, this is like we literally just finally got it to the place where I'm like, okay, I can go to the public with this. It was originally only for my inner circle people and my clients like you. But so we just keep improving it. But you can do free recorded messages, ringless voicemails. That's where if you want to send an offer out to your database, like we talked about on last week's podcast with sending out the instant Pete's Secret Sauce, I think you called it, for fast clients. So we'd have him do that. And this guy, he calls into me and he goes, hey, I had the funniest thing happen. I did what you said. I recorded the message. I put it up on my Yelp page. That was the only number that people could call. So the very first thing we say is, you've reached Pete Mitchell with Pete Mitchell's Auto Detailing. If you haven't heard this message, go ahead and press 1 and you'll be connected to me if I'm available right now. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you the 3 things you need to look for in an auto detailer before you hire them. And he goes through the 3 things. And then at the end, we have another call to action. By the way, now that you've heard the 3 things, if you'd like to reach out to me right now, you can press 1 and be connected directly to me. If I'm available, I'll be happy to take your call. Otherwise, you can leave a message at the tone and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. He goes, I have people who are now calling it, listening to it. And he goes, and this one guy goes, you were way higher than the other guy, but I knew after I listened to your message, you were a real professional and those other guys weren't. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what you want people to know about you. You're different than the other guys. And that's what having this educational marketing material can do.
Yeah. And this will get you out of what I call being chuck in a truck.
Yeah. Chuck in a truck. Exactly.
Chuck in a truck. Yeah.
You got to be different than everyone else. Apart. Yeah.
You do. And today's clientele is just so much more sophisticated. They know what they want. They know everything. They know, like me, they know what paints and stuff like that. And I just say, listen, you're the boss.
Right.
And that freaks them out because they usually have to argue with people about that.
Right.
Do whatever you want. The only thing you have to do is write me a check.
And it's got to clear.
I make it that easy. You tell me what you want done. You tell me what you want moved where. It doesn't matter. I don't care. That's my job. My job is to make your house look beautiful. And when you're done, you are excited to write me a check.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So
that's simple.
That's what I wanted to focus on this podcast. And that way we can be all teed up for the next one, which is how to properly follow up. So you have someone who calls in or they ask for the report, what happens when they don't immediately hire you? How do we do our proper follow up? And that's where the money is. All the money is in the follow up.
Go to the next one, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what everyone does. But I mean, do you want to just barely squeak by in your business, or do you want to have a business that explodes and you're like, I got more business than I know what to do with? So those are the options.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm not sure, but I'll check. I think I have that template that I had converted it over to the contracting industry.
Okay.
I'll send it over to you, and maybe we can put it on the website.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks, Dave, for having this episode with me.
Hey, this has been fun, and we'll have more fun ones too. Till next week. See you then.